Welcome to another episode of Bring Coffee, Let's Chat. I am your host, Parrish Drew, and on today's episode, we have a special guest. Her name is Cadie Hill. She's a good friend of mine. She's an actress down here in Atlanta, Georgia. She's been on plenty of television shows, The Encounter, Shift Drinks. She's worked in plenty of movies, one in particular being Dream Killer, starring Christy Carlson Romano. All right, so Coffee Crew, let's give her a warm welcome. This is going to be a great episode, and let's bring her in. Did you bring any coffee?
I have water right now because I've hit my intake of coffee for the day.
Oh, and how many cups is that a day?
Well, I use big cups. They're not actual cups. So I would say if we actually did in the cup measurement, probably 6 to 8.
Wow. Okay. That's definitely way more than I have. 6 to 8 cups.
That's not every day, right?
Gotcha,
Weekends, I don't drink that much. Mondays, I probably drink more. So it depends. It depends on the day.
Got you. Okay, that's fair enough. All right, so I have a rapid fire question for you. Who's your biggest inspiration and why?
Oh, does it have to be a person, like a specific person?
No. It doesn't have to be.
Okay, because I think mine is a segment of population. So I realized that, sure, I could give you an inspirational person. Like Helen Mirren and all these people, great, sure. But I realized that the people that actually inspire me are people that have some sort of something standing in their way. So whether it be like economic, social impact, like family, whatever it may be. And I realized this, I was listening to a interview with Dwayne Wade. And he was talking about, they had asked him like what it was like to play basketball at like the highest level that an athlete can play at. And he was like, that was my only option to make my life better. And he started talking about how like basketball became his outlet to change his life and change his family's life because he didn't come from the best of place, right? And it made me realize like how many people there are like that, like whether it's how you grew up, whether if, like for me, I have kids, like that's something that kind of can change the trajectory of someone's life. And it's really inspiring to see someone that has something that could potentially hold them back, but actually use that as the catapult to make them successful. So I think that's.
Got it. So you, the obstacle is the inspiration.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. It's the inspiration is not letting what some people could let be their detriment, but they use that detriment to be their driving force. So yeah.
Wow, that's a very full answer. I've never gotten that perspective before. So
yeah, no, it's really interesting to me, right? Like, we talk about people who, that are they're privileged in certain ways, whether it be race or gender or whatever it may be, right? And there's so much privilege that comes with that. But what people don't realize is privilege can also look from having like a super supportive family that supports your every dream, or like coming from an economic standpoint, a family that could provide everything for you. And don't get me wrong, I came from a very loving family. I have a great support system, but it's really interesting to me to see people who come from the opposite of that and then do what they are meant to do at the highest level they can do it at.
This is going to be a good episode. Yeah, I just, okay.
Did I answer rapid fire wrong? Because I'm starting to feel like maybe I should have given an easier answer.
No, that was great. I mean, it just has me thinking. I'm trying to process everything that you said. And I'm trying to like, all right, where do I segue this? All right. So what sparked your journey to be an actress? Was there a specific obstacle or something that happened to you that sparked that interest with you?
Yes and no, right? So I grew up in a tiny town in Central Florida. And ever since I was little, and I can remember, and heaven forbid, my mom has so many stupid VCR tapes of me embarrassing myself, but I always was performing for people. Like I remember, like my parents put me in dance really early. Like acting wasn't really something within our reach, because growing up in a small town, you think acting is only in LA, right? Like you don't
Yeah.
have that perspective.
Right.
So I kind of went through my whole life. I was always in some sort of performing arts of some sort. But on the flip side, I also was really big into livestock. Like I showed horses and cattle and like really went the rural farm kid way.
Mm.
But I always felt like I didn't belong. Like I always felt like, I remember I had this like really dramatic conversation with my mom when I was like 14, and I begged her to let me move to LA. Why?
Mm.
I don't know, but obviously it didn't go well. But I just always felt like there was something that I was missing. And I
Mm.
realized now, looking back, what, almost 15 years later, oh my God, that it was creativity or fulfilling a purpose is what I was missing. It had nothing to do with the location.
Right.
So my journey kind of went from there to I was dared to enter a beauty pageant, and it went terribly wrong. And
Mm.
then I was like, well, I can't be bad at it. So that's how I kind of got into more of, I guess, like photography and videography performing, because that took me into hosting. And that's where my career started, was actually on the
Oh wow.
hosting side of it. Yeah. So I was a host for a country music website. It's the sister station of World Star Hip Hop. They
Oh,
had a
okay.
sister station for a while. It's called Red Cow Hills. And then from there, I signed to my very first modeling agency. And I just kind of did my own research until I realized that there actually was an acting community in Florida. So I took a very logical approach to where I end up now. You hear of these people that they're like, I was just born to do the craft and the craft brought me
Hmm.
here. No, like
Yeah.
Google brought me here. Google is what
Mm.
got me here, because I was just like,
Got you.
there has to be some way that I can be fulfilled. Um,
Mm.
of course, along the way, I fell in love with the actual craft of
Yeah.
playing and creating and getting lost in that world. Because I was a dreamer kid. Like I constantly was getting lost in worlds that weren't reality. But that's kind of how in a nutshell, how I ended up where I am now.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Do you so I have a funny story. Do you remember during the pandemic? Well, actually, before that, I was pronouncing your name wrong for about 2 years.
Most people do.
How do they say it?
Caddy.
Oh, I wasn't saying that. I was saying Sadie.
Oh, I've gotten that a couple times too.
Uh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know why. Because usually I'm used to Katie being spelled Katie or
Oh, really?
Katy.
Yeah. My
So,
parents were like, let's
I,
give her a basic name, but make it spicy with the spelling.
no, it's definitely a cool spelling. I mean, it definitely made me think it was pronounced differently. But so I was talking to Susan, and by the way, guys, we have the same agent. Um, we're represented by 22 Talent Agency. Shout out to Susan Franzo.
The
But I
best
was
agent in the world.
yes. I was talking to Susan, and this was during the pandemic. And do you remember when we got that audition? It was like a trial audition or something like that, and it was about the snow and going to see the snow. And well,
Yeah.
I don't know if she told you this. She probably hasn't.
No, she didn't. Because it was a mono. Are you talking about the monologue?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So I think around that time, I was just so desperate to have an audition come in, and I was just so excited. I did that audition like 7 times, literally. Susan was like, "You need to re-record. You need to re-record. This isn't like you're not getting it like this." And I was getting frustrated. I was like, "What am I doing? Like, you know what I mean? What am I not doing?" So she said, "You know what? I'm gonna send you Katie's tape because she just she had me in tears when she did it, and she was like praising you, because then after I seen it, I was
I
like,
got a call too. I thought I was being dropped, so it's okay. I'll tell you my
no,
half of the story when you're done.
all right, this is interesting then. So I mean, after I seen it, round of applause. You did a hell of, like, when I was captivated, and I was a little mad because I was like, what is she seeing? Like, what is she? What I was just like, damn, how is she able to be so moved? Like you knew your beats, you knew the intentions, you just knew what was going on. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I was just reading the script and being like, all right, let's sit up, let's record, and let's do it.
Well, it wasn't, it was kind of a weird script on top of it.
It was
Yeah.
because at
Yeah.
first, like, I was like, is my character dead? Am I a ghost? Am I like what is going on? So I tell you, I did it after she sent me yours. I did it 3 more times, and then I finally,
Yeah.
finally got it. But during that time, like I've never been so frustrated,
Yeah.
and it's something about like, and that's why Susan is just so amazing because, and this is going off of a tangent, but this is why she's so amazing is because she's not one of those agents that just allow you to get by. You know,
Yeah.
if she sees how serious you are and serious you're taking the craft and things like that, she's gonna push you. And I think,
I wouldn't be
yeah,
the actor that I am today if it wasn't for Susan. A hundred
same,
percent.
yeah,
Yeah.
same. And at first, I've gotten so used to, like, when she first signed me, I was so used to um her not feeling as though I needed to retape. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So of course that gets to your head. But this time I was so, and I told her this before. I was like, I was frustrated with her because
Yeah.
of how much she was pushing me. I wasn't used to that. I was just like,
Yeah.
all right, okay, like calm down just a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
once I finally took my time to, okay, what is your scene objective? Who are you talking to? What is the scene around you? What's going on? Then oh, Paris, you're being desperate right now. You're like a kid at a candy, because we didn't see not one audition until then.
Yeah. And it was for
Like,
Freeform. It was their open call.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I almost didn't do it.
Really?
No. So little, I mean, we don't have to get into it, but the
Mhm.
pandemic was really hard. I was going through a divorce,
Mm.
and there was so much there that it was kind of nice. I mean, I will never say the pandemic was nice, but it was kind of nice to
Right,
have a
right.
breather from everything going on because I was going through so much in my personal life.
Mhm.
And I remember they were doing like pandemic was the open call season, and I was just getting so overwhelmed because they were all over the place, and I'm like, I'm
Mm.
just not doing it. So the
Yeah.
freeform one came in, and she sent it to me, and I was like, I should do this because my type. I'm very CW's, very freeform, like all that. I was like, I'm just
Right.
gonna do it, and I was having a bad day, and I obviously had worked on it and kind of knew what was going on. And I was at a friend's house. We were just hanging out, and I was like, let's just put this on tape and see what happens. I was like, if it sucks, I'm not gonna send it. So I
Mhm.
did it one time, and I did it, went through it once, and I was just kind of like, I think I want to go a completely different direction with it. I was like,
Mm.
I want like it. I think there was just a lot of emotion going on because the whole thing was about wanting something that you can't have because
Right.
our character was dying, but he or she wanted to be with a person that was on Earthside, and it was this very like
Right.
weird kind of ethereal thing going on.
Mhm.
And I just was like, I just kind of grounded myself, and like, I remember just telling myself, what would it be like having something that you can't have, like wanting something that you can't have? And
Right.
that's where it came from. And I had been holding in so much emotion just from everything going on in my personal life, and I just let it go. And I
Mhm.
remember taping it, and it felt really good, but I was just kind of like, I'd never trust feeling really good because the ones that I feel great about, I never book, and the ones that I hate, I book it every time. So
Right.
I sent it. The next day or 2 days later, I get a phone call. And I don't know if you know this feelings, but if you see your agent's number on the phone, it's either really good news or really bad news.
Yeah,
There's
that's a
nothing
fact.
in
That's a
between.
fact. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I knew there was no really good news that I thought because we weren't auditioning really. So I
yeah.
answer it, and she's like, "You made me cry." And I was like, what did I do? And
Yeah.
she starts going off about this monologue, and honestly, that monologue changed my career because up until the point with her, she was submitting me for everything, but I was only getting auditions like, one liners here and there, which I'm so grateful for, but
Yeah.
she wasn't. able to see what I could do, because
Mm,
one-liners, you're just serving the pizza. I mean, yes, it takes talent, but there's nothing really there, right?
yeah.
After that, I think she realized what I could do, and that's when she started submitting me for like bigger role. I mean, and maybe it's
Mm,
different. Maybe it's because I had a new confidence. I'm not really sure. I don't question Susan. I let Susan do with my career what she wants to do
yeah.
because she knows
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
than me at this point.
Yeah.
But I will say it led the door to, she got me in with that monologue. She was able to get me in with Finn Cannon and do an open call for them, and like it. I went from only auditioning from like one liners or under fives with a couple at casting directors to now I get study from all of them, and it was from that monologue.
Wow.
So it's so funny because that I actually have it on my Instagram. It's I actually have it on my Actors Access too, because I'm like,
Mm,
this is the monologue heard around the world, because I don't know if, I mean, I'm sure that I could, but I retape that right now. I don't know if it would have, it was just like the perfect combination of everything
yeah.
going on in my life. And honestly, a lot of just like, screw it. Like, I was just like, I put no expectations on it. I just did it. So it's
Yeah.
kind of funny
Wow.
how that's how things shake out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I mean, I'm super proud of it, but yeah.
yeah, no, it was great. It kind of it made me mad a little bit. I was just like, dang, like now you set the bar. Now I gotta try and like, and I think at that time too, during the pandemic, I just got so used to being away from acting because it
Yeah.
just cut off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of course, there was TikTok, and my wife and I, we tried the TikTok thing and this and that and the
Yeah.
third, but like, so, and I was watching a lot of television. So one big note that she gave me was like, why are you putting on a voice? And I took that offensively because I was just, that day, I was just very in denial. I deflected a lot, and I was just not trying to hear anything because I just
Yeah.
wanted to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was putting on a voice. I was trying to imitate actors that I seen on this TV show I was watching. And yeah, so that was a crazy day until she said, "There we go, you got it." You know what I mean? You got it.
Yeah.
Like this. But yeah, I remember her saying that like, Cadie made me cry. She was a one take, one and done.
Yeah.
And like she bigged you up. She really, and rightfully so, you know what I'm saying? But that's so dope that I had no clue that was the pivotal moment in your
Yeah, it
career.
actually was. And I mean, I am the queen of beating myself up, but also being now that obviously 2 years later, my career's come so much further than where it was then. I'm a firm believer in some materials you click with, some you don't. Like, I hate people who are like, I can play anything or I can do this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, you can't, because
Yeah.
like Meryl Streep can't play anything. Like,
Mm,
there's some material that to instantly, and there's some that don't, and those are the parts
yeah.
that are meant for you. And it doesn't, for me, I don't believe that dictates someone who gets it more than the other. It's just connectivity. And that monologue, I could see people struggling with it because of the way that it was written, like, because you had to kind of, it only connected with me because of like everything that I was going through in my life,
Yeah.
because you almost had to create a new story for what was written, because
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very ethereal, but yet grounded, but yet like soap opera, but yet this is us. Like, it was very much like,
Yeah. And that's, I think that was a lot of my frustration too, separate from my own, flaw. But like, I was like, what? It just seems like I was picked up and dropped in the middle of the scene, and I have no
yeah,
clue what is going on. And I
yeah,
I, I remember asking Susan, like, what is going on? Like, I need to know, like, what's happening. She kind of explained, which helped as well. But yeah, so that's interesting how,
yeah. And it was
yeah.
kind of like the perfect timing too, because I had been working. So my coach is in LA, and I had been like
Mm,
needing to let off steam of not being creative. So I had been working with her a lot, and like, she's really big on beats. She believes that acting, right, only happens in the silences. So like,
mm,
anyone can say words, real actors come through in the silences. And I kind of had used that monologue as kind of just practice, because I I put a ton of beats in there. I don't know if
yeah.
they were supposed to be there, but I think that kind of changed it to Marie too, because I could feel the transitions versus I used to rush everything. Like I would give no
Mm,
silences, and I'd be like, the writer wrote these words, so I have to say them. Like
mm,
it was very much that.
yeah.
So again, that monologue was just like the perfect combination of my life in that moment. But it's just so funny because like my coach talks about it. I had no idea
Wow.
Susan had sent it to you. Like
Yeah.
Susan called me about it, and I'm like, you guys are making me feel like a really great actor right now.
No, I mean, shoot, rightfully so. I mean, yeah, like that's crazy. I definitely wanted to bring up that story today.
Well, thank you for
Yeah,
sharing. That adds another layer to it. That's great.
yeah. I don't know why I never shared this with you because you know why? I thought I wasn't supposed to. I thought
Oh
that's like,
yeah,
yeah, but
yeah.
whatever.
It's just still so funny how like even like having this conversation of how our friendship started. Like
Yeah, yeah. Like it was 4th of July, wasn't it?
4th of July, right after I moved here, and we went to that dinner that Susan
Yeah,
had
yeah,
on the
yeah.
top of Pond City Market, and
Yep.
we ended up sitting next because they could only do so many bills, and
Yeah.
we became bill buddies because we could split it two
Yeah,
ways.
yeah,
Like
yeah. Facts. Yep. And I thought your name was Sadie. I
Sadie, yeah. I
yeah.
mean,
Yo, yeah, I was on a that's what I was gonna say. I was on the phone with Susan and I said, she was like, "Yeah, Katie such," and I was like, "Oh, Katie who?" She was like, You met her, you know her." And I was like, "No, I don't." And then and then we had another conversation and I brought you up and I said, "Sadie." And she was like, "Who are you talking about?" I said, "S- Sadie." She was like, "You mean Katie?" And I was like, "I'm pretty sure it's Sadie." Like she got it wrong. So that's hilarious. Okay. Um
I mean, I'm
yeah,
literally used to it. I get Sadie. I get Caddy is the most.
Caddy.
Sometimes people will turn the A to an O, and I'll get Cody. One time, someone switched the B and put the D to a B and made me Cabby, and I was like, "How does any of
Wow.
that make more sense than just Katie?" Like,
Wow. Wow. Wow.
so I'm used to it.
Yeah. So you met Susan. When did you meet Susan?
I met Susan. I was one of the first handful of actors she signed in Florida. Um, so Susan
Mm,
took a huge chance on me, and
mm.
hopefully it's finally paying off 5 years later. I had just started acting. I knew nothing.
You just started
And I
acting
knew
5
it.
years ago?
Yeah, I've been acting 5 years.
Okay. Wow. All right. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Right?
Continue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So 16, 17, 18, 19, yeah, 5 years.
Go ahead. Wow.
Um, So I had, long story short, I had a modeling agency who sent me to like this terrible monologue workshop. Oh my gosh. But
Mm,
from that, I met someone who lived in Atlanta, and she helped me find a headshot photographer. So I had headshots. That's all I had. And Susan, I had saw on one of those like actor forums, like Susan starting an agency in Florida. And at first I thought it was like a scam because like that's the first thing they teach you in acting is like never trust people you meet on the internet that says they can offer you acting jobs. So I Googled her, and it
mm,
came up that she's on AMT and all of that.
mm.
So I reached out to my friend who helped me get headshots, and I was like, "Hey, like, do you know this agent?" She's like, "Yeah, she's awesome. Like, submit to her." I'm like, "Cool." So I submitted. She sent me like mock sides audition for her. And then she had asked me to come in for a meeting. So I called Inga back, the girl that was helping me, and I was like, "Are you sure she's not a serial killer?" And she's like, "Katie, go to the meeting." And I'm like, "Okay." So I went, and she signed me. She
Mm,
says that is because she saw potential. I'm pretty sure it's because I'm super marketable in Florida for commercial. Because so like that's why.
gotcha.
That's why I say that I would not be the actor that I would be because Susan was my first agent, and Susan loves to watch tapes, and she asks for retakes if
Mm,
they're not good, and I was
yeah.
not good. So she was constantly having me retape, and it helped so much. And through Susan, I found my coach. So that kind of the two of
Got you.
them
Okay.
have. That's why I mean, yes, I've put in a lot of hard work. I've done the work.
Mm,
I've done all that. But
of course.
if it wasn't for Susan doing what she does, and like I said, like there were so many times that she didn't even submit my audition. I taped it. We did a retake, and she's like, "Katie, I don't want to put bad stuff out there, like, because I don't want you to create that for yourself." She's like,
Mm,
"So we're not going to submit it." I'm like, "Cool." So I just kind of left everything up to her judgment and
got you.
hoping that
Wow.
it paid off. And I mean, it did. She knew what she was doing of,
Yeah.
you know, getting to me to where I am now. So luckily, I don't. She has a knock on wood. this is fake wood, so I hope it still works. She hasn't asked me to retake in like 2 or 3 years, so I'm like praying that I'm past it.
No, that's I mean, and speaking of you said something that I was gonna piggyback off of. Taking chances. So I moved down here in 2017, and before I came down, I was submitting to all the agencies down here. AMT, um, J Purvis, etc., etc.
Mhm.
I didn't hear nothing. Hear nothing. And it wasn't until a mutual friend of ours, like so my mentor had a friend, and Susan was their agent.
Yeah,
So through my mentor, I was able to eventually meet Susan. So my mentor's friend got me in touch with Susan. Susan said, "Hey, send me your portfolio, etc., and all that stuff." And then we had a meeting. She had me do a mock audition,
yeah,
and then yeah, then she signed me, and I was just like, wow. You know what I mean? Like it was just like she
yeah,
took a chance on me too, like when
yeah.
nobody else wouldn't. So I just have this thing where even when times got rough, when auditions weren't coming in, I wasn't booking, or blah 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 blah, I still trusted her. Like
Yeah,
like
and I think I could sit here and talk to you for hours about what I think about the market, but
yeah.
I think specifically in this market, actors like to put blame on agents,
Mm,
and they like to say, I'm not booking, my agent must not be doing this, or. But my thing is like your agents literally their only job is to get you in the room, but
yeah.
they can only get you in the room if you supply them with what they need to get you in the room. So for me, it was when I first moved here to Atlanta, everyone was saying that I needed to get a new agent, get a new agent, get a new agent because Susan being in Florida, like that whole thing. And I was like, you know what, guys, like I just need to get acclimated before I do anything. And it was kind of hard because I moved here March, something like that, of 2019, and then the pandemic hit not even a year later.
Yeah.
So but I was like, I'm just gonna wait it out, and because I need to show Susan that she should push me. And here I am now, later, a couple years later, and I've had conversations with other agents through like mixers and stuff like that that have offered to take me on their roster, but I'm not interested. Like,
Yeah.
not only is Susan getting me in the rooms, that's the only thing I can ask of her, getting in the room and then negotiating on the back end. But
Yeah.
that's again where we're at. But she took a chance on me when I was just starting, and
Mm,
no one fights for me like Susan does.
mm,
No one will ever fight for me like Susan does. And
yeah.
I could be with the best agent ever that could get me in these rooms, but my thing is like I need someone who's going to have my back. Like,
Yeah.
we know what can happen in this industry if someone doesn't have your back, and
Yeah.
I am loyal to her. And of course, if we ever get to a point of adding on, hopefully maybe one day a manager in LA or something like that
Mhm.
adding to the team, but I as long as she'll have me, I'll be here. That's where
That's
I'm at with Susan.
yeah, that's where I'm at too. I mean, we had tough conversations, but like tough conversations in the sense that like she was assuming that I was about to say, "Hey, I'm ready
Yeah,
to move on."
yeah,
But there was one conversation where like I got a little choked up, and I was just like, "Susan, I'm not leaving. Like I don't
yeah.
care."
I had a conversation like
Yeah.
that with her too. Yeah,
Yeah,
she
and
called me and
yeah.
she called me. I felt like it was like a breakup call. She
Oh
called me and
snap.
she was like, "Are you happy with me?" And I was like,
Oh man.
"What?" And it was just more of like it was during the pandemic and like no one was
Yeah.
auditioning, and I'm like, this has nothing to do with you. Like, if
Yeah.
anything, like, do you need something from me? Like, do I need new headshots? Do I need like, so
Right.
I just love her. I
Yeah.
love her so much.
Yeah. I mean, well, one more story before, of Susan before we move on, but recently, uh, I had I was listening to a podcast, and it was just giving advice on how to communicate with your agent. Setting up Zoom calls like every month or so like that. So I was like, all right, I'm going to implement that. So I texted Susan. I said, hey, can I get on a call with you soon? And I could tell she was kind of like, what's going on? Like, you know what I mean? She was like,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, okay. So when we got on Zoom, I was just saying, hey, like, are you happy with, are we happy with the amount of auditions we're getting, TV film, this and the third? Just general questions just to check in. And it
Yeah.
got to a point she was like, listen, I really thought you were going to say you were ready to move on. And I was like, nah, I'm just trying to
She
better communicate. Yeah.
she's just the best. Like
Yeah.
I just recently had a booking and I came off of it and I had sent her like my exhibit G's or whatever for the day.
Yay
Thank
to the
you,
booking.
yay. But I wrapped late, so I was just emailing her and she texted me, she's like, call me tomorrow, I want to hear how it went. She literally had me call her just to talk about
Wow.
it.
Yeah.
But we're at the point now I get a call, I'm in LA. And again, the phone rings, it's your
Oh, you
agency. There's good
shot in
news and
LA?
bad news. No, I was in
Oh,
LA just visiting.
oh,
Yeah, I
okay,
shot
gotcha.
here in Atlanta, but I was
Gotcha.
in LA visiting, and I get a call, and I'm like, "This is bad news. I have an audition." And she calls me, and this is where we're at now. She asked me if she has another actor here in Atlanta who was on a callback for like Beneful or something,
Mhm.
and she's like, "Further up for the callback, they want a video of him with a dog. Can you come over and play with your dog?" And I was
Oh,
like,
snap.
so I'm like, I get off the phone and everyone's like, "How was your agent?" I was like, "She wants to know if someone can come play with my dog." And they're like, "Your agent called and asked you that?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "So
Yes.
he's coming over on Sunday to play with my dog because I don't tell Susan no."
Yeah, nah, that's a fact. Susan, it's like you said about the trust thing, it's like whatever Susan asks or expect of us, that we do it. We gotta and that's the oh god.
Well, no, it's just the easiest way to explain it is that, when it comes to the way they get paid, they get 10% of our commission.
Yeah.
It's because they're only supposed to do 10% of the work. And actors
Whoa,
put
I never heard
so
of that.
much
Wow.
more on. Yeah, I mean, of course they end up doing so much more because they're constantly submitting us.
Yeah.
But like, if you do it the way that it's intended, the actor does almost everything besides getting themselves in the room. So you're putting so much on your agent when really you should be maybe putting more on yourself or just the
Wow.
universe, because sometimes you can have the best materials, the best everything,
Hmm.
the best agent, and it's just not going your way right then. I mean, that's what we're
Yeah.
in. But people put too much on their agents and not enough on maybe a little bit of accountability of themselves.
No, that's a fact. That is a fact. Um, I was gonna ask you, what do you like doing when you're not immersed in the craft? But I want to ask this before I ask that. What's what's your favorite audition that you've gotten? And it can be your favorite, but also okay. I'll say
Mm.
this: what's the most bittersweet audition that you got? Meaning you just love the character so much, you love the preparation for the audition, but you didn't book it.
Oh god, that changes so often
Mm,
because as I grow, I realize that I wasn't meant for a character. I remember my first heartbreak. I It was for a Lifetime film,
mm.
and I worked my butt off, and it was like this multi-component audition, and I got so close. I was the second, like one of two, and they went the other way. But
Oh,
now looking back, I'm like, oh, because it was for a teenager. The girl was actually a teenager. I am not a teenager. Don't
yeah,
tell anyone. But so like it
yeah.
that made sense. I will say I had an audition recently that I was extremely proud of. And I
Okay.
think that's how I'm gonna answer this. So I am a naturally awkward person. Like I am best friend energy all day, every day. Like I'm
Okay.
just a lot. And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, because I'm thankful for everything. A lot of people, a lot of auditions I get are for like the temptress or the sexy girl or this and that. And I was for so long, so uncomfortable in my own skin. I was like, how do I be sexy? Like I just
Yeah.
couldn't do it. And I don't, sorry, I dropped my phone. I don't know if it's a combination of just growth as a person or an actor or both, but I did an audition recently where it was basically this girl who they were like on this retreat and everyone was getting like you're gonna be the like adventurer, you're gonna be like the holistic person, and
Yeah.
she got explorer. And she turned that into, I'm going to be a sexual explorer. So she used it to manipulate her husband into being able to have sex with whoever she wanted, basically.
Oh,
And
snap.
it was this crazy, it's a comedy, so it's super high. And it's this crazy audition that it ended up being like 8 pages, and they wanted it as 2 scenes. So it was like the first scene was like a page, and the second 7 pages was all one scene, and it changed 3 locations. And yeah, so it went from like a dinner table into walking around a cruise ship to then sitting on someone's bed undressing. Like all of this was
Oh
happening, and
wow.
there's like physical, yeah. And it was the first audition that I watched back, and I was like, she's there. Like,
Mm.
you could see me at the dinner table, you could see me in the cruise ship, you could see me like undressing. I went through all of it seamlessly. I hit all of my beats, and it was 7 pages of me being me as sexy,
Mm.
and I wasn't trying to put on something. And that was a really big moment for me. Not that like now my goal is to play sexy roles, but
Yeah.
it was that one character that I just struggled. Like any other time I would have to like hype myself up and be like, you can do this. And then I would like try to be sexy.
Yeah.
And I've had so many acting coaches being like, Cadie, you're already sexy, just be you. And I'm like, but like, no, I'm supposed to be something. And it was just, I could never grasp
Yeah.
it. And I did that audition. I did coach on it because my coach is a genius, and she helped me navigate on one chair how to change 3 locations. But
Oh shit.
it was the first thing that I looked back and I was like, man, I wish I would have booked that for like how much I put into it and how
Yeah.
much growth that would have been.
Yeah.
But the fact that I have the audition is good enough. That's the beauty of self tapes now, is we have all our auditions. Back in the day when people had to go in the room and they never got to see them again. So
That's true.
yeah.
Wow. So yeah, self-taping. I love self-taping now. I mean, I don't know how it was in Orlando, but in Pittsburgh, where I moved from, all my auditions were in person.
Yeah.
So for me, there's been a lot of auditions where I felt so proud, and I was just like, there's no way I'm not going to get this, like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then just never hear back again. So one of them was I also had a recent audition for like a recurring role in a TV show. And this is just a separate thought. I was so proud of that one. So proud of that one. But by this time I've learned to just let it go, you know,
Yeah.
distance myself. But a couple years ago, this was 2018, Susan calls me or emails me and says, "Hey, you got an audition for oh my gosh, why did I just blank? It's a DC show
Doom
called
Patrol.
Doom Patrol." Yes, got an audition for Doom Patrol. Can you go to the studio and get this recorded? So I'm like, oh, okay, this is legit. All right, bet. I'm going to go book in the studio, blah, 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 blah. And it was for Vic Stone.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole idea going into this audition was to not so much focus on the physicality, because
Yeah.
I'm not a big guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not Michael B. Jordan. But I said one thing that I take pride in is the emotional sensitivity aspect of a character. So I said I'm gonna bring this to the audition. I'm gonna give like a new take, because we never seen the emotional side of these superheroes and things like that. So I did it, and I felt so great. You know, I sent it in, and I really thought I was going to book. Like, I actually thought I was going to book it. You
Yeah.
know, but I found out on social media who they booked. And
Yeah.
and of course, I mean, he was well established and things like that, and but it crushed my soul. I was just like, what, other than him being 6 foot, you know, probably has like 100 pounds on me, what did he have that I didn't? Like, you know?
Yeah. It's
So
such a trap to fall into, though.
yeah, yeah.
I've also come to realize, and I've tried to trick myself a couple times, but it doesn't work, that if I actually, not that I don't care about the audition, but if I don't put stuff on it, I'll book those. If it's something
Mm,
that I really want, like for instance, the show that I just filmed, I got this audition on like, so I work for a CPA firm on top of it. So
okay.
like February till April is crazy because it's tax season.
Mm.
Like I work like 50 to 70 hour weeks, like crazy, crazy. So
15 to 17 or
50 to 70. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, like we're putting in 16, 18, 20-hour days some days. Yeah, like it's insane.
You work
So
from
I get
home?
this audition. I do.
Okay,
I
cool.
have to go in the
All right.
office one day a week, but I work from home. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a weekend that I had my kids because I have my kids every other weekend.
Mm.
And I got this audition on like a Thursday afternoon. And it was due on Monday, but I was like, I have the kids this weekend and I was moving and it was taxi. So I was like, I don't have time. So I called my friend. I was like, hey, tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, can I come over and put this on tape? She's like, yeah. It's like, cool. I learned, I went through it. I was like, okay, it's easy enough. I get there. I was in and out of her house in 7 minutes. Like, I came in, I did it one time. She was like, hey, the eyeline was like a little confusing. I was like, cool, I want to do something different anyway. I did it a second time. The second take is what I sent. I was in and out in 7 minutes. I submitted it.
Oh, wow.
And when Susan called me that I was pinned for it, I had to go back and like look to see what audition I was. I'm like, I didn't audition for that. And I was like, oh, yeah. I mean, it made sense, but it was just, and I told her that story. She goes, nope, that's how it works. It's when you don't put anything on it.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was right before that, I was on a bail check for something else. And very similar situation. I had multiple auditions that day. And this one, I just was like, oh, this is easy enough. It was like a few lines, banged it out, didn't think anything of it. And I try to trick myself. I try to be like, oh, I don't care about this audition and like manipulate the universe. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Well, that's noted. I'm definitely going to take that advice. Okay. So, what do you like doing when you're not immersed in the craft?
I think it's changed so much since the pandemic, right? Like before the pandemic, I was really big into fitness and I boxed like 4 to 5 times a week and I was like really big into that. But I took a 2-week break because COVID was supposed to be 2 weeks and here we are 2 years later and I haven't gone back. But like the generic answer, I love, obviously when I have my kids, you know, we love to do pool days and, you know, go play. They love, you know, they're really big into trampoline parks right now. And I quickly realized that I am not 20 anymore. I about broke my body the other day. Just hang out with friends. I finally getting to explore Atlanta because I moved here during the pandemic. So that's been really big for me right now, is like actually exploring and like finding cool rooftops or little bars or, you know, little places to eat. So, and I also love not leaving my couch. So that's
honest.
also,
that's honest.
Yeah, I am a homebody through and through. So that's been really nice.
Yeah.
I just moved into this place.
Congratulations.
So right now it's been like decorating. Like I've spent so much money on decorating just because I'm like, wow. Oh, this is nice. So I'm redoing everything. But yeah, I'm kind of lame in that sense.
No, that doesn't sound lame to me at all. Do you have a real estate agent?
I will need one soon. So I'm renting right now. I'm going to buy hopefully next year.
Okay.
The market's a little crazy.
Yeah. Well, hey, I got someone.
Your wife's a real estate agent, right?
Yes. So
yeah.
We'll talk about that off air.
Yes.
I'll get you connected with her and stuff like that. But congratulations on the move. But I want to say that you make motherhood just look so fun. And I know it has its, you know, challenges and things like that, but it's just beautiful seeing pictures of you and your 2 boys. That's just, you know, so I think that's kind of what my next question is just, you know, motherhood and are there challenges, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you see the highlight reel, right? Like you follow me on social media, you know, but I will say my boys are 7 and 5 and they are my best friends. Like, you know, I mean, I've been a mom now my entire adult life. Like I had my oldest, I was 2 months away from turning 21. So my entire adult life, I've been a mom and they've been with me, obviously through everything of me changing careers, of me, obviously with the divorce. Like we've gone through a lot together and it's challenging in the sense of people that you constantly have to keep alive is really hard. Like, for instance, like if you're not feeling well, you don't get to like lay on the couch. Like it's just like it's constant and like with auditioning and they're getting a little bit more self-sufficient right now, but like it's nonstop. But I will say that one of the hardest things is mom guilt. And trying to navigate that in a world that you're trying to raise two respectable boys in a time that it's both hard to be a man, but also men need to evolve at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's this beautiful and like devastating juxtaposition of teaching them to be respectful, but also don't become the villain. But also, and so it's this hard thing to navigate at 5 and 7. But I'm like, if I don't start now, then like I'm going to be behind the curveball.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I do have a wonderful support system. And I do sometimes, the challenging thing is to like see people that have all this free time of like, they're like, oh, I did like 3 auditions because I had nothing to do. And I'm like at soccer practice at 11 o'clock and then coming home to do this and that and this. So, but I honestly wouldn't change it. Like, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't be the actor that I am today. I wouldn't be the
Wow.
friend, the, you know, everything without them. So,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
yeah.
That's beautiful. I mean, and you probably already mentioned it, but like, what's your favorite thing, or what's one thing out of the million things? What's one thing that you love about being a mom?
They keep me accountable in a way that I think parenthood has become this martyr system of like parents being like, I do everything for these kids, right? And you do, like, but also they challenge me. They make me a better person. Like, there'll be times that I'll be doing something and I'll lose my patience with them, and then they'll not call me out on it, but by their reaction, I'm like, okay, I overreacted to that. And then it's, you know, self-awareness. Like,
Yeah.
they're constantly teaching me new stuff, especially kids now being 2022. They know more about technology than I will ever know. Like,
Right.
so, and just watching them grow and learn from like, even so, me and their dad have 50-50. So they'll be, you know, I see them at least the longest time they will have is 5 days of me not seeing them.
Gotcha.
But even in those 5 days, the amount that they've changed and grow and they learn, like, it's like watching magic happen in front of your eyes, but being able to prove that it happened. Like,
Wow.
that's the easiest way to put it. Yeah. It's really cool.
Sheesh. Okay. Yeah, I'm like getting excited because I'm,
Yeah.
I'm you know, they say you're never really ready, but like
Yeah.
I feel like I'm emotionally ready for children, you know.
Yeah.
I've always desired to be a dad, you know, since I was
Yeah.
younger, you know what I mean? So how do you balance being a mom? And again, these are you're probably going to answer this question again. But how do you balance being a mother with your acting career? You know, you got auditions and callbacks and things like that. How do you, and more specifically, when you have them, does it seem like you have more auditions when you have them, ironically, or
Oh, hands down.
yeah?
Like, I'm trying to be more intentional about balance, right? Like, that's been something that I've really been working on with my therapist, honestly. Because I can get overwhelmed really easily for no good reason. So, and I'm also the world's biggest procrastinator, but I'm also a planner. So how those things go together, they don't, but somehow that is
Right.
what I've been dealt
Hybrid.
with. So, yeah, I think it's hard because like, so yes, I have them technically 50-50, but when I have them all the time because I work from home. So it's not like I get to go and have time and then come back. It's that I'm on mom mode, I would say, more often than not, right?
Yeah.
And yes, it without fail, 90% of my auditions come in when I have them. So I have been lucky as I have great friends and support systems that will come to me. And like, I have a self tape set up here and they'll help me tape. So like, my balance comes from my team of people around me. That's been really helpful. Like, I could not do this without my parents, because my parents watch them, or if I, you know, if I book something or I need to go do something, my parents keep them, which has been really helpful. But also the team of people who, you know, will come help me tape, or like if I like, Susan will send me a last minute audition and I'll be like, hey, like, I cannot get this in today, and she'll ask casting for a couple more hours.
Awesome.
Like, I have a team of people who will help because I don't have the time luxury. I will say though, of my self tapes I put on tape between midnight and 3 a.m. because they're asleep, and like that is like when I have time to actually do stuff for me.
Oh, snap.
So yeah, so I don't really sleep. It's not great, but yeah, so they normally, once they go to bed, it's like I said, it's a little easier now because they're older. So
Yeah.
now I'll turn on their PlayStation in their room and I'm like, do not make a
Let's
sound.
go,
I need 10
PlayStation.
minutes. Yeah. So I'll be like, and there's so many bloopers. I actually want to make a blooper reel because I have so many for myself
Oh, wow.
tapes of me being like, I can hear you. Like, you know, it's just like, because
Yeah.
I'll be in the middle of lines and I'll hear like, yeah, take that. And I'm like, really? Are you guys kidding me right now? Like,
Yeah.
edit that out.
Wow.
So yeah, I know that like with social media, because I try not to keep like, my social media is real, right? Like I don't like sugarcoat it, but I also
Right.
don't like obviously post my craziness. But I think, I don't know, I think being a parent, people have a lot of times seen it as such like a downer, like, you know, your life changes or your life ends or you can't do that. And honestly, like, if anything, my kids push me to pursue my dreams more. Like, I am like, recently, my kids also think I'm famous, which is really fun. But
Oh, that's
also,
dope.
yeah. Well, but it's not, because like one day they're gonna realize that I'm not famous.
Oh my
So
God.
I was so excited about my booking recently. Like it was a pretty big booking, and I told them, and my oldest goes, "Haven't you already been on TV?" I was like, "Cool, thanks." So then they actually got to audition with me for a film that shot. Bryan Cranston has a new movie coming out. It's called like Jim and Marge Go Large or something. It's like some new Bryan Cranston movie.
Huh.
They filmed it in my parents' tiny town that my boys go to school in.
Wow.
So the boys got to, my role actually was a young mom, and they got to audition with me. So they went to school telling everyone that they auditioned for the movie that's filming in town and all this. But we were talking, and my mom asked them, like, "Oh, like, do you tell your friends that your mom's an actor?" And they go, "No." And I said, "Well, why not?" He goes, "I don't want people coming over like asking for your autograph and stuff." And I was like,
Wow.
yeah, I was like, he's gonna Google me one day and be like, "Wow, mom's actually lame."
Oh my gosh. That's,
Yeah.
man, that's so awesome. Wow. I can't wait to meet your boys one day.
Yeah, they're
That,
characters.
wow.
They're
Wow.
something.
So, you know, do you have any advice from a woman's perspective, a mother's perspective, to, I guess, men that are listening and to myself on just what you need from us in a process of being in the process of becoming a mother, whether it's, you know, the pregnancy process, whether it's the delivery like I don't know, like being a father, like what is some
Yeah.
advice that you can give me, you know, who wants to become a father, who wants to, yeah, if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah, it 100% does. And I think that's a very layered question that I could speak on hours about. But I think you as a father, I think the biggest thing, and this used to drive me crazy about my ex, which I hope he listens to this and learns something.
Oh wow.
But I'm kidding. But it's that this weird thing that happens that men don't see themselves as a full parent. Like, I'll never forget how many times my ex would be like, "I'm babysitting the kids." And I'm like, "No, you're parenting.
Right.
Like, this is your thing too."
Yeah.
And there's just something about at the end of the day, the responsibility of a mom, like, for some reason, it outweighs the responsibility of being a dad. Like, I remember, and this has happened, it's not just a me thing, like, it happens to a lot of I obviously have a lot of mom friends, but like if him and I ever wanted to do something, and it was up to me to find childcare, it was up to me to figure that out. And if I didn't figure it out, then he went by himself. It was very much like that kind of ordeal. And I think it's just that parenting is actually a tag team sport. Like, yes, people do it alone all the time. Moms do it alone. Dads raise kids by their own. But like, if you're, and that, it's not that it's unfortunate, but it's like those are the situations that they have to deal with. But if you have a partner and you're doing it together, actually do it together.
Yeah.
And I think I don't think it's a man thing. Like the men are attempting to be that way. I think that goes into my second point is it's a societal thing, right? It's that when I can't tell you how many times I've been at work and people be like, "So who's watching your kids?" And I'm like, "Do men get asked that?"
Mm.
Like, I don't look at you, Chad, and I'm not like, "Where are your kids at?"
Yeah,
Like, you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, men don't get asked that. It's the idea of like, I know so many actresses who are terrified of starting a family because people won't cast them. And I'm
Mm.
sorry, but if we can make Doctor Strange move through multiverses with 85 Spider-Man in one movie, you can do a little bit of magic and make a woman not look pregnant so she can actually be in a film. Like,
Mic drop.
I'm sorry. Like, it's not even green screen. It's like
Yeah,
wardrobe. Like,
yeah.
wardrobe departments are amazing. Costume designers are amazing. But, like, women are so terrified of starting families because it's like, how does this look? Or, like, will they cast me? Or, like, there's just so much that society still puts on motherhood. And it's
Mm.
almost creates, like, it's almost like a detriment. It's like women aren't as useful if they're moms because they have responsibilities. And I'm like, well, that kid has a dad too. Like, why doesn't he get that same? So I think it's a societal change. I don't think men are attempting to be bad dads, and I don't think men are bad. That's not what I'm
Right.
trying to say. I just
Yeah.
it's that the fact that why are we still saying that women it's their responsibility? It's like, it's I remember when I first my youngest was born, I was working for an auction company, an on air auction company. I was traveling like 3, 4 days a week. And I was literally driving to work pumping breast milk on the freeway. And get there and they'd be like, "You're 5 minutes late." And I'm like, I literally had like why is that
Oh wow.
a thing? But like if like, he showed up 5 minutes late, I'd be like, "You're late." He'd be like, "Why are you monitoring me?" I'm like, it's just there's still such a divide, and
Yeah.
I don't really understand why.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
that was very ranty. I'm so
No,
sorry.
no, it's okay.
But
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think it's just like actually being a partner.
Mm.
And I think actually like, when if your wife needs help, whether it be like she's like, "Hey, I need 5 minutes," give her 5 minutes.
Mm.
It it's hard being a mom, especially if you're in the situation where she's having a baby and you're not adopting or something like that, but have to think she's going through so many hormonal changes.
Yeah.
And like the biggest hormonal shift comes after you deliver a baby because you have to think a woman's body goes from having all those hormones to once they deliver, those hormones are ripped out of her body. So she's going through a hormone detox too, right?
Wow.
And it's so many changes that people are quick to say, well, she has postpartum depression or she has baby blues. It's like, well, I don't know, maybe she's overwhelmed. Like, give her 5 minutes. It's
Yeah.
just, I think it's being self-aware but also being situationally aware is like the best advice I could
Well, thank you for that advice. I'm
give.
definitely receiving and processing all of that. I mean, I got to be honest too. Like, I look at myself as a traditional man, for the most part,
Hmm.
but I'm also learning to be more open minded and to implement different practices, I should say.
Yeah.
And my wife and I were having a conversation about, when she finally has the baby, she has the baby, she delivers the baby, and we're back at home, and it becomes the time for those sleepless nights where we're waking up in the middle of the night. And I had said to her, I said, I basically put the responsibility on her to get
Hmm.
up because that's what I thought was
Yeah.
the way, like, you know what I mean? And she was just like, no." Like, we're gonna be flip-flopping, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, and I was kind of challenging at first, but then I had to step back and say, wow. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying, it's a tag team effort. The
Yeah.
responsibility is not just on the mother, regardless of how things used to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's the tricky thing of tradition, right?
mhm,
It's that like I am in all sense a traditional person. I'm Southern for one.
mhm,
Let's be real. But I think what's hard about tradition is I think there's a line of being traditional and realizing that a lot of these traditions were set in times that women were seen as second class citizens.
got you.
And that's where so much of that tradition comes from. And it's not that men today that are traditional are actively doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's that wherewithal of like, no, this can, like, women are actually this on the same level. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. Like, you know, and I think that, I mean, I still have not backward, you know, but like thoughts of like that sometimes of like, oh wow, like that's actually kind of weird the way that that was done, and that's weird that you know, that's that process. So I think
Yeah.
it's just, I think if you have the self-awareness to like key into thinking of it, I think that's the biggest hurdle in all of it,
Right.
right? It's
Yeah.
just having an open mind.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I mean, your advice is definitely confirmation. Um, to what, the conversations that we've had as well. And I think this is a good segue to, the the new segment that I'm introducing called Spilled Coffee.
Okay.
And basically I would, current events, you know what I mean? Let's
Hmm.
spill the news, spill the coffee. And so the potential abortion laws that
Hmm.
are coming. Um, what are your thoughts on that? And I know it's more complex than just to,
Yeah.
and we don't have to spend too much time. But I think that, again, I'm someone who doesn't. I don't know how to feel because I actually I believe in pro-choice, right?
Yeah.
So whatever you decide is what you decide.
Yeah, I should preface this with, I was a political science major,
Mm,
and I have a hard time grasping the fact that women's rights are political.
mm,
We aren't politicizing men's rights.
yeah.
We aren't politicizing any of that. It's I this is a controversial outlook, but I believe that our politics are still very much governed on one particular side of what is the white Christian outlook,
Mm,
right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that outlook. I think what's wrong, well, the white part, yeah, but
mm,
like the Christian outlook,
yeah.
I think what's wrong is saying that now everyone has to also conform to that.
Mm,
I think that there's a big difference between what you think morally is right and what you think politically should be a law. For instance, I am pro choice. Politically, I'm pro choice
mm,
because I don't believe our government should be able to limit what we do with our bodies. That's number one.
you're right.
Morally, I'm pro life.
Wow.
That like really throws people. And they're like, well, what does that mean, Cadie? It means like, I personally, given the scope of what I know of me and the circumstances that I've lived through, thankfully I have not been through any type of like rape or anything like that. So I can't speak on that.
Yeah.
But I would not get an abortion. That doesn't mean that I don't think the woman to my left, to my right should be able to have one.
Right.
Because my issue is too is if we're going to say that we're fighting for lives, right? We're fighting for lives. Okay, what about our homeless population? What about our poverty situation? What about our, you know, war on people of color in this country? What about our veterans issues that like we send these people off at 18 years old to fight for us that get, you know, literally blown up or exposed to chemicals that they're coming home and getting no health care? Like, what about their
Yeah.
lives? Not that they're more important, but why aren't we talking about that? Okay, so if we're going to go just kids' lives matter, right? What about our adoption process? What about the fact that there's no money being put into that? The fact that if you are a single mom or a single dad, or heaven forbid, a couple in the LGBTQI community, you cannot adopt. Like,
Wow.
what about all of that? Not even putting the actual mother and child of that situation. What about that? At the end of the day, we're not ending, if this passes, we're not ending abortions. We're ending safe abortions. It's going to go back to the way that it was in the 40s and 50s before Roe versus Wade, of women trying to do it at home
Mm,
or going to countries that are unsafe and getting really black market abortions and a woman dying, right? I, again, for me, it has nothing to do with the actual abortion because women are going to do that regardless of whether you say it's legal or not.
yeah.
But if we want to go with the Christian outlook of that, it is wrong. Telling someone they legally can't do something isn't going to change their mind. Screaming at them, telling them that they're wrong isn't going to change their mind. Why not have more resources of being like helping teen moms, helping people in these domestic violence situations that maybe want, helping people that maybe someone wants to have a baby, but they cannot afford it because they live in poverty. Like, those systems are meant to not actually work, and they're failing people constantly. And then the last thing, again, I could speak of this literally for hours, is we're going into the thing of like, if abortion is purely illegal, 1 in 4 women experience miscarriage, stillbirth, infant loss, right? 1 in 4. I am one of those people. If abortion is illegal, a woman's body who has a miscarriage can now be investigated as a crime scene. So say I am with a guy, we have a tumultuous relationship, I get pregnant, I have a miscarriage. He blames me for it. Now I can get investigated to see, did I drink too much? Did I do drugs? Did I exercise too much? Did I cause that miscarriage? If so, I can be charged with murder. My miscarriages were the hardest thing that I've ever been through in my entire life, right? It's something that, sure, there's people who get in car accidents or something that they know why they miscarried.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I don't know the exact percentage, but most of the time women do not know why they miscarried, right? So it's this questioning thing of, you're already asking yourself that. So now there is a possibility that I could be convicted, and it's already being proven. And it's a little bit of a different situation, but there was a woman, I believe in Oklahoma, that had a miscarriage. They did an autopsy on the fetus, and they realized that the baby was positive for meth. She was charged with first-degree murder, and she is in prison right now. Granted, I don't think that you should be doing meth
of course,
at any time, let alone when you're pregnant.
Yeah.
But if that was already a precedent, it's not going to be hard for all of these women to be investigated, because so I just think that there's so many other things to pour our minds into. I don't know, maybe if we're talking about current things, maybe gun rights, or maybe making it more safe for people to even live in this country. It should be a morals thing that someone chooses to do that. It shouldn't be the government telling us what we can do with our bodies. I mean, we're going back soon. We're not going to be, interracial marriage is going to be legal soon. Gay marriage, that's going to be illegal soon. Women aren't going to be allowed to vote. Like, we're just literally going backwards, because politics has become, you vote on what you're afraid of. And right now people are afraid of change and anything that looks different than that.
Wow.
Kind of got on a soapbox.
Yeah, no,
sorry.
that was a lot. That was a lot. But like, I like what you said, that on a political standpoint, you are or morally, you're
Pro-choice, morally pro-life. Yeah.
and you just reminded me that that's how I feel too, because I am pro-life as well. You know what I mean? And I felt like that's where I was before, but also now, as I got older, I understood that like, we can't police women with what they do with their bodies.
It's so that's that same thing. Like, when this all first going on, someone, I don't remember who it was, had tweeted, okay, let's say that every man at the age of 18 has to have a vasectomy because they're, reversible. And they were like, oh, we can't tell men what they can do with their bodies. And we're like, and then there's a video clip of I think it's two congressmen going back and forth about, like, name one law that has to do with men's rights. And they literally could not come up with one.
Well, yeah. Is there?
That's my thing.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if we're gonna pour all this into saving every baby, right? And don't get me wrong, I would love to, but I would also, why would we want babies that were born into situations that they're literally going to add to the statistic that we're not putting money in to help our own citizens? The homeless population, poverty, child hunger. Like, if we're the greatest nation in the world, why do we have children that are starving?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
So, I mean, are they? So I last read that they haven't they're coming to a decision this summer.
Yeah. TBD, right?
Yeah. Wow. Oh,
It's a Handmaid's Tale before too long.
we were just talking about that.
You'll see me in my red
Oh
cloak
my
walking around
gosh.
there. I'm pretty fertile.
We were just talking about that, how like the parallels, but that's spooky
I mean,
talk,
South Park predicts
Yeah.
everything. South Park and Simpsons
Simpsons, right?
predict everything that happens in this world.
Mm.
So why not?
Well, on a
Ugh.
positive transition, because we can spend hours on this topic and
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
we feel like should happen, and is there a foreign country you would love to move to in case it gets too chaotic here in America?
Oh, move to.
Yeah,
No, I really want to go to Australia.
yeah, that's
I could live in the Bahamas with the swimming pigs. I think I could do
swimming
that.
pigs. There's
Yeah,
swimming
that sounds really fun.
pigs
I
in
hear that
okay.
I hear they're kind of jerks, but it's fine.
Mm.
I would live, I don't know, there's so many places I want to go, so it's hard for me. Like, I really want to go to Amsterdam.
Mm,
I really want to go to Denmark. I want to go to London. I want to go to Europe in
yeah.
general, Asia. Yeah. So there's a lot of places. I think though, if I had to pick one, I'd go to Singapore because they kind of seem to have their stuff going right around there.
Yeah,
So
Singapore and Australia. Australia is definitely where,
yeah,
you know, that's the end goal for sure. Um, yeah, well, before I, let you go, um, I know we can't talk about, the series that you or the TV show that you just worked on. I know that's,
yeah.
to be announced soon.
TBD.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what is your goal as an actress? Your short-term and long-term goal.
Ooh, short term, I think it's easy to say result oriented, right? Like, I
Mhm.
want to book this, this, and this. Like,
Yeah,
I would really love to, by the next year, book some sort of recurring, even if it's 2 episodes.
yeah.
That would be a goal for me.
Weren't you? Sorry to cut
Um,
you off, but you have a recurring role under your belt too,
Yeah,
right?
it's a web series.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
it's a web series. So I'd also really love to do like actual network
Mm,
television. I think that would be a goal for next year because I've done streamers up at this point, but I no actual network, which would that.
yeah.
Long term, my goal in life, and most people laugh at me when they say this because no one becomes an actor to do this. I want to be on a procedural. So I come from a gun background, like I'm SWAT and firearm
Oh,
trained.
okay.
And I want to be like, my dream role would be like Quantico Priyanka Chopra. Obviously, I'm not Indian, so like I can't play that exact role. But like spy, FBI cop, like that would be a happy place
Got
for
you.
me. Like, sure, everyone's like, I would love to win an Oscar or all that. That'd be great. Sure,
Yeah,
I would take anything. But like, I would love to do a procedural. I think that's. Keep working at
yeah. A
it.
procedural is what for the people that are listening who don't know what that means.
Yeah, so a procedural is any type of show that you watch. So like Law and Order, Chicago PD, all of those, that there is something that is solved within that. So there is a procedure that is followed.
Oh,
So and
procedural.
there's a
Okay, okay,
procedural.
okay, okay.
Yeah, so there's like a crime that happens and then they solve it and then it ends. So it's like any cop show, any spy show, anything like that is technically a procedural.
Okay.
Um
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I would love to do that too. I always wanted to be on Law and Order.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um. All right. Well, great. Well, this was fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is
Thanks for
yeah,
having
no,
me.
I want you on here again. We got to get you on here again. And
Yeah.
welcome to you're officially a part of the coffee crew. Woohoo.
I'm excited to be
Yeah.
here.
So just for the people that are watching and for those that are listening, where can they find you? Social media?
Yeah, I'm on all the socials. It's just my name, Cadie Hill. So
Not
CADIEHILL.
Sadie.
Not Sadie. I mean, if you typed it into Sadie, you probably still
I
find
get
me
you.
because apparently it's spelled the same way. Yeah, or if you're in Atlanta, you might just randomly run into me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, on all the socials.
Well, what do you do on the weekends?
It depends. So like if I have my kids, we're doing like pool days or all of that. Weekends, I'm a big brunch person. Actually, I realize I like mimosas. I'm a big
Mimosas. Okay,
mimosa
okay.
person. So yeah, you'll normally find me at some sort of brunch spot, or like a cool like we've been me and my friends are really big into like the West Midtown brewery scene right now, so we've been doing a lot
Yes,
of that.
yes.
Yeah, because we have like a really great brewery scene here in Atlanta that people
Yeah.
don't
Which
realize.
one did you go to?
Oh, I love all of them. Firemaker, Dr. Scofflaw. I mean, there's a ton.
Yeah, okay.
Firemaker is my
Okay.
favorite. Yeah, but yeah, and they're dog friendly, so I just got a puppy. Well, he's not really a
Hey,
puppy
okay.
anymore since a year,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he could take him. So
Sweet.
yeah, just kind of chill and enjoy the city. I love Atlanta. So
Well, all right, guys, you heard it here first. You can find her on social media or any local brewery down here in Atlanta.
yeah.
But yeah, Cadie, this was awesome. This was awesome. So I,
Yeah,
I,
thanks for
I
having me.
really thank you for this. I want to have you on here again. We have hit an hour and 8 minutes. So this is a good, solid episode.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I will see you soon. And cheers to
yeah.
more auditions and bookings.
Same
All
for you, my
right.
friend.